Hello guys and gals of the internet, I'm The7chaos of YouTube and Twitch TV, and welcome to the first 7chaos previous episode that has been in about 2 months. The last one was Sonic Origins, when that was coming out in June. We are now at the 23rd of August 2022. Now, I wouldn't generally do a 7chaos previews for a sports game, because generally sports games are pretty much the same every year. I would say especially in the last 5 or 6 years, developers like EA and 2K have basically been Control-C, Control-V for the majority of their games. And I think the most telling example of that is, for this year in particular, is something like Madden. I've played Madden 23, and it's pretty much the same as Madden 22 to a degree. But I would say apart from that, this is a huge year for sport games. A huge year. FIFA 23, as it's its last year by EA, is pulling everything out of the box that it possibly can. We've got the female sports football clubs. We've got the female football league, I think. So many changes, like the new introduction of the Hypermotion 2, which I don't think is really going to change the gameplay drastically. But you've got the World Cup, you've got the Women's World Cup. It's just all of that. And then in NBA 2K23, you've got the Michael Jordan Challenge returning, and you've got this massive, massive update to My NBA, which has you give you the opportunity to play through eras starting as far back in your, say, save as 1982. Oh my goodness. And obviously, we have this as well. F1 Manager 22. This game is insane. We will talk about that. Now, when I think F1 Manager was announced a couple of years ago, and when I saw like this, I was like, okay, even though I'm not really familiar with Frontier Devs games, or management games for that matter, I will buy it. Because as you guys know, I'm a lover of my authentic sport titles. You know, FIFA might annoy me. Madden and FIFA might annoy me in just the way it is sometimes. Madden might be Control-C, Control-V, and the same with NBA. But they're official sport titles. And their authenticity always kind of wins me over to a degree. With last year's FIFA, that wasn't the case. I just got so fed up of it after one game. But this year is, like I said, it's drastically different, so I'm definitely going to make a beeline towards that this year. But for the most part, I've always loved my authentic sport titles. Even though sometimes in the case of, say, F122, they can be restricted by licensing matters, like, say, with the official time tower for this year, they don't have it in the game. I wonder if licensing plays a part in that. It can be somewhat restricted by the licensing, so I understand that. And I've always understood that with sports games. I've always gave sports games a bit more of a free pass because they're official sport titles. Some cases they are limited by licensing. So I've always given sport games a free pass to a degree. You know, because sometimes, they can't really change what they do. They can only change the rosters and maybe the kits and stuff. But generally, in some cases, they are held back a little by licensing. So they can't go with crazy customization like custom liveries for teams, for example. That was a big thing that almost everyone was asking about this game, and I'm like, it's an official sport licensed title. There probably isn't going to be, especially for a dev who is delving into Formula 1 pretty much for the first time. They are very familiar with management games. Frontier have had Planet Coaster, and there's been other kind of management games like 2 Point Campus and 2 Point Hospital and things like that. I don't think Frontier are involved in that, but they've obviously had Planet Coaster. I think they've had Jurassic World. I think it was Jurassic World and Jurassic World 2. I think they did both. So Frontier has experience with manager games. But this is the first time they delved into a sport title. Now, with management games, I've never really played one. I've never really had the opportunity to play one for myself. I think there was one year, I think it was either 2004 or 2005, where the game there was FIFA Manager 2004 or 5. I'm not sure which one, and FIFA 2004 or 5. And because they were from the same studio, pretty much, we were able to merge the two games together, play this game, and manage this game, which was an awesome idea. But I never owned the management side of the game, so I never really got to experience that. But it was such an awesome idea. Now with this game, it's not going to be able to merge with F122, which I thought was a bit of a shame. But maybe that'll be something they do in the future, perhaps. We'll have to wait and see on that, because obviously two different studios. But I've never really played a management game before. I've played the likes of Jurassic World and, say, Planet Zoo or Planet Coaster or something. I've never played Planet Coaster, but I have dabbled into it somewhat, but I've never really played it full-fledged. This is actually going to be my first time ever jumping into a manager game. And I think the second reason for that is there hasn't really been much opportunity to. F1 Manager 22, to my knowledge and to my memory, is the first F1 Manager game since, I believe, the late 90s? I would say, somewhere like late 90s, early 2000s. There was a management game, but I think it was like 1999 or something like that. So, really, outside of Football Manager, there's not really been much of a chance for me to play that kind of game. Now, I haven't really delved into Football Manager for a couple of reasons. Number one is it's not really fully fledged official licensed title. That's how they get around the licensing. They don't actually apply the license. They can actually do a lot more with it. But as I said before, I love my authentic sport game feel. So that was kind of a turn off for me. Now, yes, I could install mods. I might have to think about doing that. But to be fair, over the last few years, I've kind of dwindled away from football for a bit. Like, I didn't play last year's FIFA because I was just so sick of it after one game. But football as a whole is just something that my interest has dwindled over the last few years, I would say. But I am going to look to come back with FIFA 23. It does look rather really jam-packed full of stuff. So I might make the final exception this year, considering it's going to be the last FIFA game as well. I'll make a special exception for that. But yeah, with all those in mind, Football Manager's not really piqued my interest so much. Now, Time Lady did play a little bit of it. I think she played it on Game Pass on Xbox, I think. We played maybe a couple hours, and we didn't even get to play one match. Myself and Time Lady Games had absolutely no idea what we were doing. No idea, and after 2 hours, we just gave up. we literally just gave up. We couldn't understand it. We didn't know what was going on. And it was just, yeah. we basically dropped it and never picked it up again. For that reason. So, yeah. That was our experience with Manager Game. So, with that in mind, I was when I saw this, I was like, yeah, official F1 sports game. It's going to have all the official teams and drivers from 2022, all the tracks. I think that was, to my expectations for that was pretty much that was going to be it. And all the rest of it was going to be like, say, Motorsport Manager. Again, I've heard about that, but because it's nothing officially licensed, it doesn't really hold my interest for very long. So I was expecting football F1 Manager 22 with all the official tracks and drivers, and that'd be pretty much it. All the rest of it would be from something, say, Motorsport Manager. Boy, was I wrong. Because after the two gameplays, even the first gameplay stream of this game sold me immediately. It sold me. Guys, just have a look at the screenshots from the race day footage and you will know instantly why it sold me. The timing tower is the official one from F122 for the current season. I'm not even kidding. And that was like, and there's that. You've got all this, you've got data, you've got time intervals, you've got the timing tower, you've got the intervals, you've got race information in a pretty neat screen. And it really just looks like you're watching it on TV. And that's not even, that's the start of it. You have got You've got replays. You've got commentary from David Croft and Karun Chandong. It's probably not going to be really in depth, but at least the effort is there. You've got, oh my god, you have got official team members, engineers, aerodynamicists, all that. You've got all of it. The aerodynamicists, the race engineers, actual race engineers with actual conversations between engineer and driver from past Formula One seasons. Basically, they've gone in, taken some audio clips from those seasons and those audio files that F1 has recorded and stored. They put them in the game. I'm not even kidding. You can have a conversation between a real race engineer, say Gary Gannon, and his driver Mick Schumacher, and it really just feels authentic. Obviously, it's from previous audio clips. It's nothing really new, but it even sounds like they're coming over radio, and it's like, oh my god. You've got and the screenshots of the drivers, they look so good. It's not pure Last of Us Naughty Dog kind of engine, but my god, the gaming engine for this game blows F122's out of the water. I'm not even kidding. It completely blows it out of the water. You've got replays, you've got TV you've got TV presentation in this game, in a game from developers who are probably smaller than EA and 2K on their own. Combined, it's not even a contest. You've got Frontier devs with a small development team working on the game for 2 years, and it's the most authentic representation that has been in F1 since 2006. Wow. Like I said, the gameplay streams just sold it for me. It sold it for me. This is the most authentic Formula 1 game I have seen since 2006. When they had the commentary from James Allen and Martin Brundle and the official time boards and the scoreboards and everything like that. It has everything. This game has everything, and plus it's a management style, so you get to do the car setups and make parts and all that stuff. And I'm probably going to fail at all that stuff. But you know what? I don't care. Because I'm going to have such fun just watching and feeling like it's on TV. This game, authenticity-wise, is a no contest with F122. Seriously, it blows it out of the water. F122 had already lost when that first gameplay stream went live. Oh my god, I was just so sold and so amazed with what was going on. Like, it was just incredible looking. It really was. I could not believe it, how good this game looked. I was just blown away. Seriously, I'm repeating myself, but I was just blown away how good this game looked. And that was all the work in progress at the time, so maybe they've even worked on it a little bit since then, and then maybe the full version will be even better. Like, wow. You've got driver transferred. You can take staff from other teams and put them in your team. There's just so much you can do as a team principal. Obviously, you're limited again by the license, so you can't change liveries or things like that. And so the customization isn't very high. But in terms of authenticity, this game knocks it out of the fucking park. I am not even joking. I have not been this excited for an F1 game, since Formula 1 in 2010, when the franchise finally came back to the Xbox 360 and PlayStation 3. I remember that year vividly. I remember what I was doing at the time. I was so excited. Michael Schumacher had returned, so it was actually the first time that I'll get to play as him since 2006. And wow. I feel like that kid again. I feel like that version of myself in 2010. I can't wait for this game. I can't wait for this game, dude. And I've got, like, obviously, I'll talk a little bit more about what I'm going to do in a second, but yeah, just It was just amazing. So, round of applause and massive props to Frontier devs knocking it out of the park, literally, to the point where if you were to compare this game to F122, it would be a no contest. F122 lost when this first gameplay stream dropped. It's just amazing. And there's another thing you can do if you buy, but if you sign another driver, no matter who it is, and that's the other thing, the driver pool extends to F3. No joke. Real mechanics from Formula 1, mechanics and real people from Formula 1 in the team you're managing, real drivers from Formula 2 from the current season, I think, real F3 drivers from the current season. Formula 122 doesn't even involve F3 yet, so that's a massive win. You know, it's just like, when F122 was coming out and they had, this had already been announced as F3 being dropped and all that stuff, you look at F1 and F122 and you think, why the hell is F3 not in this game? It can't be licensing, that's no longer an excuse. Frontier devs have the license themselves. So licensing isn't really an excuse in EA's case, so they dropped the ball. And then you figured that the launch was it was an absolute mess, and was a mess for a good couple of months afterwards. F1 Manager hadn't even come out, it had already won for me. And yes, I will still play F122. You see it installed here. I will be obviously playing it because I will be featuring it this year for my F122 Universe storyline with the Rise of Aiden Jackson, which will feature this game. It won't. I'll talk more about that in a minute, but I want to talk what I'm going to do with this game first. So yeah, F1 Manager has just knocked it out of the park. Some people are really kind of criticizing the lack of not authenticity, but the lack of customization to customize the liveries, power units and things like that. And that was the thing I was going to go to as well. When you sign a driver or a team member to your team, the head of the driver will be in a Red Bull overall. I'm not even kidding about that. I saw it happen. Someone in the second gameplay stream that Frontier devs did, which was in 2030, you saw Logan Sargent's face and the Williams uniform he was wearing. That's insane. Now, to be fair, F122 does do that. It does do that. You put, and they've had driver transfers since 2020, I think, or 2019. And, you can see Hulkenberg in a Ferrari outfit. So they do that. So it's nothing really new, but it's just the details. The details that it sold me. It really does. And that was the good thing about F1 2019 to 22. Like seeing Hulkenberg in a Ferrari outfit, for example. I love this kind of stuff. I just love it. And Manager 22 just has it down packed. It really does. And like I said, the driver pool is extended to F3, so you could have this scenario where you bring up Arthur Leclerc to Ferrari, maybe as your reserve driver after a couple of years, and you bring him up, and you increase his skills, and eventually you probably could put him alongside Charles Leclerc in 2020, 28 or something. Like, the storylines you can create for this game is just insane. This Frontier devs, they just absolutely, they were balling out here, man. Seriously. And I don't know what to do. I don't know what to do for this game. I want to do something with it, but I'm not sure what I want to do. I've been kind of thinking over it over the last couple of days in my head. I think so let's go into that. So I think one thing I'm not going to do is pick one of the top 3 teams. So Ferrari, Red Bull, Mercedes. I think that would be a bit too easy. Because their facilities are pretty much almost top notch anyway. You probably got to upgrade a few things, and that's another thing you can do. You can upgrade the facilities, and it's in a much bigger scale than F122. That's the thing as well. But I think for the top 3 teams, most of their stuff's going to be pretty made already. So I think all you really need to do is make sure you bring the results on the track, rather than, I think you have to refurbish. But in terms of upgrading the facilities, you won't really have to do anything. You'll probably just have to refurbish them a few times during the year. I am going to have one save, and one save I'm going to have is a save with Alpine, which I'll explain why in a minute. I'm kind of leaning towards Alfa Romeo in terms of doing a season on this game, because I'm going to do a season on this game. I am probably going to do my own commentary over it, over the races in particular. We'll have to see, because unlike F122, you're pretty much fixed to 100% session length and race distance, which is fine. I can handle that, and that's another thing too. With the timing towers on the screen, you can click and view anyone you want. So if your drivers are, say, Alpine, for example, with Alonso and Ocon, but you can watch Vettel, you can watch Verstappen leading the race, and it feels like watching it on TV, and you guys know I love that stuff. So yeah. So as for a year as a team, I'm leaning towards Alfa Romeo, and here's why. Or maybe Haas. Haas for obvious reasons, Mick Schumacher. But the part of me wants Mick Schumacher in a Ferrari or Alfa Romeo in the future. A strange rumor that he's going to Alpine, but that's real life anyway. Yeah, part of me really wanted Mick Schumacher in the Alfa, so that's a possibility. And like I said, as much as I'd like to be him in a Ferrari, probably doing Ferrari for the first season would be a bit too easy and not very entertaining. So I'm leaning towards either Alfa Romeo and Haas for kind of Schumacher reasons, and their kind of midfield to lower end teams. Yeah, I think that's probably what I'm going to go with. If you guys have any suggestions, leave it down in the comments, but it'll be basically from midfield to tail end teams for the sake of having a bit more of a challenge. You can make multiple saves, so that's good. So one save I'm going to have is an Alpine save, and even though this game is not really going to feature in terms of, the rise of Aiden Jackson in terms of driving, that's going to be primarily on F122, but I am going to feature this in some pretty unique ways for the rise of Aiden Jackson storyline. Don't know whether I should mention this now or leave you guys in suspense. I think I will, because that's a bit more unrelated. We might go into that a little bit later. So yeah, I'm going to make an Alpine save to make sure that runs alongside the Aiden Jackson storyline, so I can incorporate that as much as possible. And that'll be pretty much it. I might do a stream save as well, but streams won't be happening for a while yet. I think what I'll do is I'll either do Haas or Alfa Romeo, and maybe the team I don't pick of those two teams, or whatever you guys suggest in the comments. A team I don't pick, I'll use for a stream save and stream that to you guys eventually, but they won't be coming for another few weeks yet, and I'll explain more about that a little bit later. So yeah, insane. I can't wait for this game. I'm surely going to get swamped and overwhelmed by all the data and the car setup, because I've never delved into car setups in F122 or even before. I've always used default setup. That's obviously not really going to work out too well in this game. And obviously you've got car parts and the cost cap and signing team members and all this stuff. I'm probably going to get super overwhelmed by that. But we'll see. When the game launches, I will do a two-parter introductory piece. I will do a two-parter. I will do one video explaining all the pre-race build-up to whatever race. I don't think this game has a Grand Prix mode. I think you go straight in, pick a team, you boot it up, you pick a team, you start from round one, there you go. So I think what I'm going to do is pick a team, which probably isn't going to be the two teams I just mentioned. I might go with, say... Actually, no. I probably will go with Haas because of Mick Schumacher again. So if I do that, and then if you pick Alfa Romeo for my year, like I said, you guys let me know in the comments. That's kind of what I'm leaning towards. Pick Schumacher in the day one. Pick Haas for Mick Schumacher in the day one footage. go to Alfa Romeo and do a year that way. I think that was probably what I'm going to do, but again, I'll leave it open to you guys. But yeah, that'll be a two-parter. That'll be one video that does all the pre-race build-up and all that, and then another video that will be the entire weekend. And obviously I will skip through a lot of the sessions. You know, I won't sit and watch 1 hour of practice or anything like that. I will skip forward. If I do a commentary thing on this year's game, which I'm very much leaning towards and really want to do, they will be in our highlights package. So if I pick Alfa Romeo and do that for the season, I may, and that's another reason why I want to really do Haas, because obviously with Mick Schumacher and stuff like that. So whatever I do, it will probably be in a highlights package rather than, you know, the whole 2-hour race, because I don't think anyone wants to watch a 2-hour race, especially if it's somewhere like Spain, for example, which are generally, or France, which are generally dull races in the eyes of the community. So obviously I won't be doing that long. That'll take way too long for a video as well. So I'll cut them down into highlights packages for you guys when that happens. But I might definitely commentate over those, because I think it would be quite fun to do that, especially with all the authenticity with the timing tower and all that. So yeah, just the possibilities and the storylines are almost endless with this game. I've never been this excited since F1 2010. I cannot wait. It's out in 2 more days' time. Yes, it says 30th of August. That's the official release date. But because I've already pre-ordered it on Steam, I will get 5 days early access, and that will help with bringing the game, bringing those 2 videos to you guys, and the Rise of Aiden Jackson preseason special that will be coming. Hopefully on the 1st of September. I can't guarantee that, but that's kind of the date I'm setting for myself to get it done by. Because after those first 2 videos, I'll be knuckling down and getting all the stuff I need ready to bring that video to you. So basically what you'll see is me going through the game for the first time, and then I'm not going to play it to a big degree until that video is done and I've got all the footage for it. So I think a couple more things we should do is we should look. I'm going to give you my take on the driver ratings here, because it's part of the game. You know, it's the game, so we're still previewing the game here. So let's see. They've put this in team order. Some very interesting drivers here. So let's have a look, shall we? I haven't really given this too much thought. I was really only interested in what Mick Schumacher was rather than anyone else. But let's go through driver by driver and see what I think. So Lewis Hamilton is level 90. I think that's pretty much correct. I think Lewis Hamilton, this season in particular, is having probably one of the best seasons he's ever had, even though he's not won a race yet. I think this has been the season to really demonstrate the phenomenal racecraft of Lewis Hamilton, especially with that move in Silverstone. I really think this has been Lewis's best season that he won't win a race or a title at. You know, he's not had the runaway rocket ship that Mercedes has been for the last 5 years. And I think we've really got to see just how goated Lewis Hamilton is at this point. I'm serious. Even as a Michael Schumacher fan, it does pay me to say that, but he's the GOAT. Even if he doesn't win his 8th title, you know? He just is at this point. I think especially in terms of this season, I would say. I think he's really pushed that status even further in terms of the, you know, personal preference. You know, my GOAT is still Michael Schumacher, but I think Lewis Hamilton, especially this season, he's just setting the facts, as it were, I guess. That would be the best way to put it. So, according to this, he's level with Max Verstappen, who is also a 90. I would have thought Verstappen would be at least a point higher, being the world champion, but I guess what they've done there is actually they've been very fair, because Lewis Hamilton and Max Verstappen in the last, say, 2-3 years have been the runaways of the field. So I think that's pretty accurate. George at an 86. He's higher than Perez, lower than Leclerc, lower than Sainz. Now let's not get too far ahead of ourselves. George Russell is an 86. I think that's pretty fair. Now, obviously, they do have all these characteristics and stuff like that, but I don't think I have the relevant information to do that. I know F1 Manager have tweeted a couple of times that they've tweeted pictures of how the rankings overall work. in terms of the racecraft and things like that, but I don't think they have every single driver for that yet. So we're just going to go for the overall rating. So George is an 86. Yeah, I would say that was fair. George has had a phenomenal season. I think he's finally getting to demonstrate the talent that we know he had from his Williams days. So I would say 86 was pretty fair. Sergio Perez at 87. Well, he's winning races. I would say that was fair as well. I would say, obviously Sergio Perez is a master at looking after the tires and limiting tire wear. So I guess that really puts into his overall rating a little bit. So I guess that's pretty fair. Charles Leclerc is an 88. That's pretty fair as well. I think in terms of overtaking, I don't think we've... Well, I guess we have seen the best of Charles Leclerc, to be fair, in overtaking because of the sprint race back in Bahrain when he was in F2. So he's demonstrated all that already. So I think, again, Charles looks fair to me. I think he may be a little bit lower, but I think anything, if he was to lower himself, it would only be the car and not his personal stats, because Ferrari have been woeful in reliability. Sainz is only one click lower than Leclerc. Sainz is one of these drivers that people think is really top tier good. I don't think we've seen that yet, personally. I'm not saying he's bad. I'm saying I don't think we've really seen much evidence of it. But I think to be fair, I think the Ferrari is starting to show that. I think for most of his Toro Rosso and Renault and McLaren days, he wasn't really able to showcase just how good he was. He was kind of like a hidden talent. And I think now Ferrari is really showing that. He's a race winner, so, you know, we can't dispute that, I guess. Lando Norris is an 86. He's too higher than Ricciardo. Yeah, I would say that. I would say that's pretty right. I think I would lower Lando maybe a little bit. But, again, I wouldn't say Formula 1 is very top-heavy, and what I mean by that is that, you know, the three Runner A teams in the best car are the best cars in the field. Well, Mercedes have dropped off massively this year, but I think they're coming back very slowly, actually. But, yeah, I would be fair. Daniel Ricciardo, to me, is always been one of those drivers that people really believe is hard, like the hardness. And I don't think he really is. He's to be fair to with Daniel Ricciardo. Here's what I think. I think Daniel Ricciardo needs a specific car, and I think the last few years have proved that to a degree. And I'm not being unkind to him. He's one of those drivers that really likes a specific car. He's like Vettel, for example. Him and Sebastian Vettel like very specific cars, and they don't really adapt to anything outside of that. Anything outside of their comfort car, and it's like they really struggle. And the this McLaren face with Daniel Ricciardo has really shown, I wouldn't say not great he is, but I think, you know, I think we need to cool it on Daniel Ricciardo, is what I'm saying. I think we need to cool it a little bit. Race winner for sure. Great overtaker, but is he really anything more than that? Not really, and a lot of people kind of think he is, and I think it's a bit... Daniel Ricciardo is one of the few drivers in the field that's very overblown. That's how I would put it. Daniel Ricciardo is not a bad driver by any means. No driver is bad. They're driving with G-forces on their necks and they're supremely fit and all that. But I think Daniel Ricciardo is one of those drivers who's a little overblown, to be honest. 84, maybe a little lower, maybe a little bit, maybe about an 80. I don't think it's by much, but yeah, I would probably he's no lower than an 80, I would say. So a little bit over the top for Ricciardo, but basically right. Fernando Alonso is another one who's completely overblown. I mean, to be fair, Alonso is a two-time world champion, and he did earn that. So, you know, he beat Michael Schumacher at the prime of his powers, so I will give him that. But lately, everyone just seems how great he actually is, and he's really not. You know, he left the sport because it wasn't going his way in his McLaren days for a bit. 85, the same as Esteban Ocon. Yeah, yeah, I guess, Alonso does have the 2 world championships, so that gives him some extra points as well. So why is he level with Esteban Ocon? I don't really know. Um, but then again, Esteban did win the Hungarian Grand Prix on merit, so last year. So I guess I would say about an 83 for Esteban Ocon, maybe a little bit lower than Alonso because Alonso does have the championship pedigree, whereas Ocon doesn't. So I think it's a little uneven there, I suppose, but not by much. Not by much. Probably 82 at the absolute lowest. Pierre Gasly, race winner. His redemption arc completed a few years ago. 84. Yeah, yeah, I would say that. Again, he won the Italian Grand Prix on merit. You don't win. You win by stuff that happens, but they're not absolute flukes. You have to cross the line first. You have to finish first. First, you have to finish, as the great Murray Walker used to say. So, again, I would probably lower Pierre Gasly a little bit, but again, only as low as an 80. He's no lower than an 80 to me. So maybe Pierre Gasly needs to be lowered a little bit, but again, not too bad. Just a little bit too high, but only by a bit. Only by about that bit. Yuki Tsunoda's a 77. That's about right, I would say. Tsunoda did not have a great first season, which surprised me because when Tsunoda came in last year, I was actually really looking forward to seeing Yuki Tsunoda, and he was really kind of underwhelming, wasn't he? He's getting better, to be fair to him. He's getting better, maybe a little bit higher, possibly. I don't think he's in the 80s. Maybe that's about right. I would say Yuki Tsunoda is about right. Sebastian Vettel is just not an 82 for me. Sebastian Vettel, if I talk, I might get lambasted, so I'm not going to say anything. But I don't know, man. 82 is a bit high. Sebastian's heart hasn't been in it for years, and I think his retirement is proving that. I mean, let's be fair, he did bottle 2 titles. I guess on his day was decent, to be fair, but like I said earlier, I think Sebastian Vettel is one. Here's what I would say: he's not bad by any stretch. 4-time world champion, he can't be bad. I mean, no, but he's one of those drivers that needs a specific car. But if he doesn't have that car, then he folds pretty easily. And I think 2017 and 18 weren't bad cars for Vettel. At one point he had an not almost unassailable lead, but he had quite a big lead and he kind of blew it, didn't he? Especially in 2017. He should have won that year. And then 2018, yeah, Singapore 2017 and Germany 2018, kind of balled it from there, didn't he? I'm not being mean-spirited towards Sebastian. I don't know. At this point in his career, 82 just seems a bit high for me. Maybe the fact that he does have four-time champions maybe does inflate the score a little bit. I wouldn't put him in the low 70s. I would probably put him as about maybe. I would probably put Vettel at an 80 at a push. Because he is better than Lance Stroll. I think this 2 years Aston Martin's really proved that. I've always seen Lance Stroll as a really underrated driver. He's not the big pay driver people think he is. I mean, yes, to be fair, he's got the Aston Martin seat, not really on merit, but to be fair, the kid has scored podiums in a Williams that probably was on the start of the downward spiral and has only got worse since, and now they're coming back up. Lance Stroll's a tough one because I actually rate him pretty highly. Not world champion material, goodness no. But I think he's better than a lot of people give him credit for. I think his 79 is fair. And I think Sebastian probably needs to go about to a 79 as well. Maybe 80 at the absolute lowest. Maybe, because Vettel is better than him by not the widest of margins, but yeah, that's what I would say for the Aston Martin drivers. Now, Alex Albon, 80. Alex Albon at 80. What do I think about that? I think this year Alex Albon has earned that rating to a degree. But maybe he should be a little bit lower. Maybe. Because Alex Albon did not adjust well to the Red Bull in 2020. Again, like Vettel and like Ricciardo, is he the kind of driver that really likes a specific car setup and really can't adapt to anything else? We don't really know about Alex Albon for me. I think he would probably be about a 79 as well. I would probably drop Lance Stroll by another. Do you know what? I would probably drop Lance Stroll by another 1 or 2 points, bring him down to 77, and then put maybe Albon at maybe a 79. But then again, that's not far off 80, so I think that's probably just about right. Nicholas to TV at 73, that's fair. I don't really complain about this one. See, this is the thing. Valtteri Bottas at an 87. What is it about Valtteri Bottas that game developers seem to rate him as this really highly rated driver, and yet he's never been in the same ballpark as Hamilton for most of his Mercedes career? He wasn't even he was decent in the Williams, but he wasn't really setting the world alight in the Williams. And that Williams back when he was driving was pretty decent. 87? Goodness no. No, not an 87 for me. Bottas is at least in the low 80s. He's not lower than 80 again. He's not lower than 80, no chance. But 87, too high for me. He needs to be a lot lower, maybe an 81 tops. But again, a bit of an overinflation there by game developers. Zhou Guan Yu, pretty accurate, I would say. Zhou Guan Yu has been the surprise for me. I didn't think he would be as decent as he has been. I will give Zhou Guan Yu props. He's done brilliantly. A lot of people saw him as coming in as this pay driver, and he's completely blown that out of the water. I would say Zhou Guan Yu was pretty correct, 79. Kevin Magnussen at 80, a little bit too high for me, but probably about as low as a 78. And then probably put Mick up to about 77 for me, because Kevin has been only slightly better than Mick over the regards of the season. 76 for Schumacher is about right. I would say that was about right. He was a 70... What was he? A 72 in F1 2021? And I think he went up to a 77 in F1 2022. So I would say he was correct. Mick Schumacher probably bring down Magnussen by a couple of points. Well, though maybe not, because he's better than Zhou. But I think Zhou, to be fair, like I said, has really outdone himself in the Alfa Romeo. So a bit of switching here. I would maybe Magnussen's right in that regard. Then okay, so we'll give Magnussen the 80. I'll give him it. Because if he would drop in any lower, he'd be lower than Zhou Guan Yu, and that would not be fair to either of them, quite frankly. So, Zhou Guan Yu can't be right, and then I say Magnussen's wrong, and he should be lower than, which he really shouldn't. So, yeah, we'll stick with that. Mick Schumacher 76, I can agree with that. So now we're going into the F2 and F3 drivers. So, this has some drivers I don't know, and some drivers I know very little about, and some drivers I do know about. So, Nick de Vries at 74. I'd agree with that. F2 champion probably gets him a couple more points for me. But I haven't seen Nick de Vries anything out of 2019, so I don't really know. I can't really comment on de Vries. Maybe a couple more points. Maybe a 76. Sebastian Buemi a 72. Yeah, I would agree with that. Maybe a 70. He was very mid. To be fair, when Buemi was around, no one really noticed he was even there. So, probably about a 70, I would say, for Buemi. Antonio Giovinazzi is a 78. Bit high for me. Really should have had the beating of Raikkonen. Despite Raikkonen's immense experience, I think he should have done better than he did against Raikkonen. 75. 75. Probably on the same level as Nick de Vries. If we say de Vries is 75, Giovinazzi is... Yeah. So Giovinazzi would probably put to about 75. A little bit too high for me. But he is the Ferrari reserve driver, so maybe that's what they've given him that rating for. Stoffel Van Dorn, a 72. Again, I'd probably make him a 75. I think Stoffel Van Dorn was hugely unlucky in his Formula 1 career. Pretty cool to see him in the game, Stoffel Van Dorn. That's awesome. I can see a lot of people going with Stoffel Van Dorn and putting him back in the McLaren. Maybe a couple years into their save on the game. Yeah, Stoffel Van Dorn, I'd agree with that. 72, maybe a little bit higher, maybe a 74. Maybe a 74, because I think he was hugely unlucky in his McLaren days. He had poor reliability, and he was able to stick with Alonso really well. So, yeah, 74, I would say. Maybe a 73, if they're the absolute lowest we can go here. Oscar Piastri is mustard, 75. Probably about right. I don't think we could judge him in Formula 1 just yet. Again, maybe a couple points higher. He's the reigning F2 champion. He is lightning fast. He dominated the 2021 championship, I think, to the most degree. So maybe about, again, in the region of 75 to 78. I'd probably put him there. Liam Lawson, I don't know much about Liam Lawson. 68 sounds about right to me. Nico Hulkenberg at this point of his career, 76. Yeah, it's about right. Probably a little bit higher, maybe a 78 again. Nico Hulkenberg, probably one of the most unlucky drivers in the sport, really, for me. He's supremely good, but he's never had the car that really showcased his talent too much. He should have been a Ferrari a few years ago. He wasn't. Okay, they signed Alonso instead. So, yeah. I think at this point in his career, though, Hulkenberg 76 is probably quite accurate to me. Jack Aitken 66. Don't really know about Jack Aitken, to be honest. He was getting a lot of hype a few years ago. He was getting big hype, but in Sakir, when he subbed in for George Russell, when he subbed in for Hamilton when Hamilton had COVID, yeah, Jack was pretty slow, to be fair. I mean, the Williams was generally slow that year as well, so it's not really fair, but yeah, I would say 66 was about right. Maybe a point or two higher. Maybe. Oh boy, Robert Kubica to 69. I think at this point I'd agree. I would love to put Kubica in the 70s. I think prime Kubica before he got injured probably would have been in the 80s by now, and probably in the 90s. Later in their career, this guy, Robert Kubica, world champion material, and I don't sugarcoat that. That is the truth. He came so close in 2008, and he's just been hugely unlucky with his injury. 69 sounds about right. I don't think they've done him completely dirty because he is the Alfa Romeo reserve driver, so I can understand why they gave him that rating. I can see so many people going into Alfa Romeo and promoting Kubica immediately. Kubica has such a rabid fan base. Like he's and when I say rabid, I mean huge. He's huge in Poland especially. He's not Max Verstappen huge in terms of like the Max Legion when they're just everywhere, but Robert Kubica has a very big fan base. A lot of fans Robert Kubica has. So I can see a lot of people buying this game and putting Robert Kubica in a race seat very quickly. They're probably not in the first season, but definitely in seasons beyond, I can see a lot of people doing that. Pietro Fittipaldi 66 sounds about right. He didn't really set the world light in Sakir when he subbed in for Grosjean. Yeah, because Grosjean had that crash. Fittipaldi didn't really do anything too impressive. The Haas was a dog of a car anyway, as they say, but yeah, 66 is probably about right, I would say. 50 for Murray Cordell. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. I don't know anything about him, so 50 is probably about right. Is he an F3 driver? Is Cordell in F3 or F2? I don't know. I don't remember. I haven't watched F2 since 2020 when Schumacher got promoted to Haas. That was pretty much the end of my Formula 2 watching days. And Iwaza. This kid's impressive. 66 sounds about right, I would say. He was quite an interesting prospect to me. He seems to be pretty decent from what I've heard of his exploits in Formula 2, so I probably would agree with that, actually. Kemble 1 Bazi is a 56. I'm getting these completely wrong. Bazi is a 56. I don't know who he is, so I can't really comment on him. Clement Novalak, 63. Yeah, probably about right. Dennis Hauger is is a name I'm hearing a lot. 69. Probably, yeah, I would say that was about right. He's someone I'm hearing a lot about. Enzo Fittipaldi is a 61. And his brother's a 66. Enzo's not really done anything of note as far as I'm aware, so yeah, I would say that was fair. Didn't he win F3, Enzo? I don't know. Felipe Dragovic, awesome name. I've always loved it. Yeah, I'd agree with that. 68. He's very good. He's very good in the F1 game series. F1 2021 and 22, when Arab teamed up with him, he was really good in those games. So when you level him up, he could be decent. But yeah, I think that's pretty accurate. Frederick Vesti is a name I've heard. 71. Yeah, I hear he's quite decent. That'll probably be around maybe 70 at the lowest. Jack Doohan, 72. Not sure where they got that from, to be honest. Again, probably a 70 at the absolute lowest. Jack Doohan is the son of what's his name? The guy in MotoGP, whose name eludes me now. Shit. Oh god. His first name eludes me. Who is it? Is it Mark? Crap. His first name eludes me. I know who I'm thinking of. I can't remember his first name for some reason. Sorry, Jack. JQ63? Yeah, I'd agree with that. Jehan Deruvala, 73? Yeah, he's a race winner in F2. It's fair. Uvips is 70? Yeah, I'd agree with that. Logan Sargent, 70. Logan Sargent has come up a lot recently. So I would probably say it's about right. Marcus Armstrong, probably a little bit higher, maybe 68, I would say. I think he's one in F2 as well, so he's probably been a little bit higher. Marino Sato, 60. Yeah, I'd say that. I don't really know much about it. Is he the son of Takuma Sato, or is it just namesake there? Write down in the comments. It's John, isn't it? It's John Doohan, isn't it? It is John, isn't it? I think it is. Crucify me if I'm wrong. Ollie Coble, 64. Yeah, agree with that. Ralph Bachon, 71? Really? 70, lowest. Same with Verschoor. Verschoor's pretty decent. Verschoor's pretty good. 71. Roy Nassani, 68. That's way too high. Roy Nassani is... No. Just... Nah. 68. 64 at the absolute lowest. He's not completely incompetent, but... he's pretty slow. He's one of those drivers that... he's like Brendan Hartley. He's not bad, he's just slow. You know... Brendan Hartley wasn't bad, he was just slow, and that's probably where I would put Nassani. Theo Pourchaire, 71. Yeah, pretty accurate, I would say. Pretty much right on the nose. Pourchaire is quite decent, to be fair. Alexander Samala, 59. Yeah. Arthur Leclerc, 59? Oh, maybe. I don't want Leclerc bias kicking in here. Maybe a little bit higher, though? Have they done him a little dirty, do you think? Maybe 60, 62, a little bit higher maybe, not too much, but maybe 62. Because he's better than Somali and he's better than Nissani. So Nissani should be like a 62, and then we'll put the Leclerc at 64 or something. That's what I would do. Ayrton Simmons, 44. Don't really know him, so that's probably about right. Brad Bernardes, 37. Poor guy. He's been done really dirty there for some reason. Kiao Collett, 55. Not really much about him. Know much about him, to be honest. David Vidales, 47. I have to assume that's accurate. Enzo Trulli, huh? Enzo Trulli. That's Yano's son, isn't it? I've heard of him. 33, probably about right. Don't really know much about him, so, probably like 33 is maybe the lowest you could probably go. Although there's this guy, Federico Malavalisti at 32. Ouch. Again, I can't really comment on that. Francesco Pizzi, 51. Franco Calaman Pinto, 50. Georgie Saucy, 62. Really? Huh. I don't really know him. Hunter Yealy, 39. Eo Cohen, 46. I'd agree with those. Isaac Hajar, 59. Jack Crawford, 59. I've heard of Jack Crawford. I think he might be a little bit higher. I think we should put Crawford at 60. Maybe even 62. He's higher than most of these guys in the 30s and in the early 60s here. Aw, Juan Manuel Correa, they've only given him a 50. Damn. Excuse me. Oh man, that's harsh. That's really harsh. But credit to Correa, after suffering such injuries in that unfortunate Belgian feature race where we lost Antoine Hubert. Credit to him for the grind he's had to do just to get back into Formula 3. Very decent kid. And very, very well done indeed. Keelan Friedrich. I'm not even sure if some of these are F3 or just some of the regens. 51. Agree with that. Kush Manini, 56. Agree with that. Lazaro Tilth, 50. Agree with that. Nazim Azim, 41. Oliver Berman is the name I've heard. 65. Yeah, probably about right. Oliver Risman, 48. Pepe Marti, 42. Rafael Villan Gomez, 41. I think that's the name I've heard. Reese Ushijama, 37. Roman Stanley, 57. Probably agree with that. Victor Martins, 56. Victor Martins is the name I've heard. 56. Maybe. William Torres, 44. Jack O'Sullivan's name I heard, 46. Probably should be a little bit higher, but I don't really know him that well. And Zane Maloney is 64. So yeah, I don't really disagree with most of these, in fact. Probably a little bit lower for some people, maybe a bit higher, but generally, yeah, I agree with the majority of these. Actually, I think they're pretty decent. So, yeah. So that's it. This turned out to be a bit of a longer episode than I originally thought. This might be almost an hour. But yeah, that was a bit of a bit to talk about. Again, like in my channel update, I'm going to go into a bit of a channel update here. And we're going to talk about the F122 universe, the rise of Aiden Jackson. That is what is officially called now. That will be on F122 using elements of F1 Manager 22's systems. I will not be incorporating the racing in that game for a couple of reasons. Their full distance races, the races in the Rise of Aiden Jackson are 50%. So, it's going to look a bit disjointing if we do a bit of both. Maybe I could do a bit of both in some instances, but predominantly the Rise of Aiden Jackson is going to be mostly on F122 for that series. In terms of driving, I'll use probably practice elements and maybe qualifying elements, and obviously all the data from F1 Manager. F1 Manager is going to feature predominantly in the background to F122, the Rise of Aiden Jackson, because of all the data and the analytics and all that stuff. And I've been so heavily inspired by Trevor Sports to bring it, and Chris from the Virtual Sports Network, to bring it more of a TV style feel. Yeah, I'm going to leave you guys with that. I've been heavily inspired to do a lot more with the Aiden Jackson year this year. Thanks to Trevor Sports and Chris for the inspiration and how they do things. So I'm going to do that. That's going to be fun. The preseason one already looks pretty decent to me, as I've already started working on that and getting it out for you guys on September 1st. Maybe a bit earlier, we'll have to see. But that is a good headway into the final part of this video. Things have really progressed over the last week or so. Now, this is in terms of personal life stuff. I can't give you exact information yet, but things have moved forward, things have progressed, things have happened, and basically now, I'm not entirely sure how much more of things for a bit I'm going to be able to do. I think what I'm going to do is I'm definitely going to drop the Rise of Aiden Jackson preseason video because I've already started work on it. I'm definitely going to do maybe the year of F1 Manager and probably start that pretty early. See, I don't really know what to do. I think I'm definitely obviously going to get the F1 Manager Day 1 stuff done now for you guys. I'm definitely going to get the pre-season of the Rise of Aiden Jackson story for the F1 22 universe out. After that, we'll have to wait and see. Okay? I'll have to wait and see. Because I don't want to get too engrossed into one of these things. Because things have progressed so much, I don't want to get so far into something, be mid-making the video, and then these things progress and happen and things happen. So, I would think for now, I'm just going to keep doing what I'm doing. I'm going to focus on F1 primarily. Obviously, I've got some other stuff I want to do with NBA 2K coming out. I'm definitely doing the Jordan challenge with that game. I'll probably talk more about this. I should probably talk more about... Okay, here we go. So, definitely the Day 1 footage of F1 Manager. Definitely the pre-season of the F1 22 universe, the Rise of Aiden Jackson. Those are definitely going to be coming out in the very near future. As for after that, we'll have to wait and see. Because, like I said, things have progressed. We are awaiting something this week. That may not happen this week, but it may happen next week. But basically, myself and Tommy are in a bit of a waiting situation. But things have progressed. And it looks pretty good. It looks like things are going to happen. We just have to wait for a few more things. We will have a video for you when that happens. And I will talk more about what's happening at that point. Okay? I just thought I'd give you guys the heads up that, things are happening. And there'll be a very important video coming up soon detailing that. But I will do this other small stuff in the meantime. Okay, sound good? Anyway, right, so that's pretty much it for the information at the moment. I can't give you more, I'm sorry I can't, but we don't really know the specifics yet. But I will say that things have moved forward. Last week, something pretty cool happened. And, yeah, we'll have more info for you when we get it. But, yeah, that's it for the 7chaos previous episode of F1 Manager. That took a lot longer than I thought. It's over an hour, I don't know how much I'm going to take out of it, but... Probably not that much, but we did go through the driver ratings, because why not? Yeah, so that's pretty much it for this 7chaos previews. I just thought I'd do a little update for you guys right at the end here. You will see it in the card at the top of the screen, maybe near the beginning of the video, and I will put it as the end screen in just a second. Please check out the trailer that I dropped yesterday for the F1 22 Universe Rise of Aiden Jackson. It kind of gives you a glimpse of what I'm trying to do with the year this year. I'm very proud of that effort. Very proud of it and how I've done it. And if this turns out the way I want it to, this series is going to be really fun to make. But I'll leave you guys with that. So, I will see you guys for the Day 1 of F1 Manager 22. It'll be 2 videos, of course. Probably very long ones, I would have thought. Because I'm going to do a deep dive into, obviously... the pre-race prep stuff, and obviously the race weekend of the Bahrain Grand Prix. I'm assuming there's no Grand Prix mode, so I don't know how I'm going to have to do it. So that'll be pretty long. And then hopefully the Rise of Aiden Jackson will arrive in October. And then hopefully I'll be able to talk to more of you guys about what's happening from there on in. So, peace out, guys. Stay safe and stay awesome. This is The7chaos signing off. Until next time. You guys know what to do. Follow, subscribe, and all that good stuff. And I'll see you in a couple of days for some F1 Manager. Peace out, guys. Stay safe and stay awesome.